This is the video for exercise 11 or lab 11, which is creating a ArcGIS Online map. So the first thing you want to do is log into ArcGIS Online. Once you've done that, we can navigate to the map tab. We want to save our map, and we can rename this to exercise 11. And then we want to add data layers from ArcGIS Online. So if we go to layers, add, up at the top, or add layer from the layers tab, so go to layers and then add layer. We want to look up Morgantown, West Virginia zoning. Or just Morgantown zoning. Set it to ArcGIS Online first. And we want to find the layer from the city of Morgantown, and we can add that to the map. Once you're done looking at this, we can remove this from our layers. So if we go back, we can click the 3 dots and remove. So now we want to add a layer from a URL. So if we go to layer, add layer from URL, we can copy the URL in the directions. Click next. For some reason, this is not working. If this doesn't work, it is just showing you how to use a URL. You would just copy and paste the URL in, and you would add the layer. We are removing this layer, so it does not matter. So now we want to upload data to ArcGIS Online, and we want to add from CSVs. So we want to go to the add button. We want to do add layer from file, and we want to find our exercise 11 folder. And we want to add the CSV files. create a hosted feature layer and add it to the map, and press next. We want to select next, and we want address or place names. Location information is in one field. We can press next. We can call this Morgantown green spaces. If it already exists, you can add your name at the end of it. And we want to add tags and a summary. So we can add Morgantown Parks green spaces and West Virginia. And we want to add the summary. This is a layer file that contains some of the public parks and green spaces in Morgantown, West Virginia. And we can create an add to map. I've already done this, so you can go through and add all these layers. So I will add the layers that I have. So you can add this layer, and this layer. So if you go through, you can add all the CSVs and create layers from them. And then you can further customize the symbology of these layers. So if we want to edit layer style, we can change the symbol to you go to POI, and then you can find a building or a museum. And done. And then for the parsing style options, we can add a park symbol. For the historical buildings, we can add a museum symbol. Back to POI. Museum, done. And then for now, we can keep the symbology of the buildings to a basic shape. And then now you would want to add shape files. So if we go back to add layer from file, you would add your device. You would add the Morgantown shape file, and you would add the tags and the summary from the directions. So I've already done that, so I can go back to add from my content. And then you also want to, now we can publish something from ArcGIS Pro into the online content. So if we open up our exercise 11 folder. And we open up this. No, not that one. The Morgantown bike routes. You would have this file opened up, and we can right click on the bike routes. You would click share, and then share as a web layer. You would add your summary, your tags, and then you would publish to the online library. And then you would go back into your exercise 11, and you could add that to your map. And you also want to open up the West Virginia tourism. You would go to share, and then you would share as a web map. You would input the map name, the summary, the tags, the categories, and then you would share this, and then it would be able to appear on your online library. So if you save your map, you could go to your gallery, map, we go to content, maps, and then you would see your West Virginia tourism map, and then you could press the three dots and open in map viewer, and you can see your web map that you created from ArcGIS Pro. So we want to change the symbology, which we kind of already done, so we can go back and we can open up our exercise 11 again. And we wanted to change the park symbols to the trees and the museums and historical buildings to the museums, or the museum icon. And then we can import our own icon for the West Virginia buildings. So if we select this layer, we can go to symbology, edit layer style, style options, and we want to do uploaded symbols. So you would click browse, and you would go to your exercise 11 data and find the WVU logo, and you would open, and that would add this logo to your West Virginia buildings. So now that our data is all set up, we also want to add the bike routes to this. So you would find your content and you would find your bike routes. Style options, line. And you would change this to something like that. And we can close. And now you want to configure map pop-ups. So we want to enable these. So we can click on the historic downtown layer. So if we go back, historic downtown, and we can find pop-ups. And then this will open up the pop-up editing pane. And we want to turn off the pop-ups. So for the historic district in downtown, we can close that. And for the bike routes, we can disable pop-ups. Now we want to go to the WV West Virginia buildings, and we just want to have the West Virginia buildings name as the pop-up here. So we would want to change this to West Virginia buildings or WVU location and then name. And we can close that pop-up. And we want to change the Morgantown title to Morgantown Historical Buildings, or we can change the title to Historic Sites and then name. And we can change the green spaces to green spaces and parks. And we can close that. So now we want to generate an instant app. So we can go down to create app, instant app. And we want to choose basic. So basic. We can add our tags. Virginia, review, and we would add our tags. So Morgantown, tourism, West Virginia, and WVU, and we can create an app. So this will give you a couple of steps. So you want to select your map that you've created, and you can press next. You want a legend. We don't want a header, and we can press next. We don't want a fixed pop-up location. You can also play around with this, and we want to enable search. And we can press next. You can select a mode or a theme. And then you can select what color you want. And then you can play around with where the widgets will pop up. So if you want your legend, you can put your legend in the bottom right or wherever you want. Something like that. You press next. And you can publish. And now you can see that we have our zoom function, we have a legend, we have a search, and if we go back to our GIS map and we save, this would update the map here. Now we want to generate a dashboard. So if we go back to our map, we can select create an app again, and we can go down to dashboards. We can add the tags for this, and we can press create dashboard. And now we want to add an element. And we can select where this pops up at. And we want to select map legend. And we have our dashboard here, and we want to press done. This will add our dashboard to, or our legend to our dashboard, and we want to create an ArcGIS survey next. So you can follow the link in the instructions, ArcGIS survey 123. You would sign in, and you would click on new survey. make a survey from scratch, so we can press blank survey. There are a couple of tabs. We have design, collaborate, analyze, data, settings, overview. And in the design tab, we can add stuff to our survey. So we can press the little pencil and we can edit what the survey name is. So we can call this Morgantown Tourism Reviews. And then we can add the tags. We can press OK. And now that will change the name of our survey. Now we want to go to the Add tab, and we want to drag in a single line text, and we want this, now we can edit this over here, we want this to be called when did you visit the location. And we want to press, this is a required question, visible. The first question is, which location did you visit? And we can have this as a required question, and then we can add a date. And we want our default value to be the submitting date. And we can call this when did you visit this location? And now we want to add a slider, and we can call this rate your experience. And then we can do a multi-line text for to add comments about their experience, and we want to make these first three required, and then we want to add a single line text for any locations we should add to our map. save, and we can click publish. This may take some time. And then you want to click this icon and copy the URL. And we want to navigate back to our dashboard. Click the add element. And we want to click on embedded content, and we would copy our URL into there. And then you want to fill out your own review for the survey so it has a answer to it. And then you would add that survey into your layer. Now we can go back to ArcGIS Online. We can click add layer, and then you would add a layer from a file after you create a CSV out of your survey results. I've done this already, so you would go up and you would add this Morgantown tourism results, and then you can hit save, and then you would upload that table to your dashboard. By going table, and then you would add that there. And that is the end of exercise 11.